So let's start with our first amazing teacher, Amanda, and she did some remote summer camp using our stuff. And I'm going to let Amanda introduce herself and just tell us what really cool stuff she's been doing with her kids. So go ahead, Amanda, take it away.
All right, here we go. Oh, wait, picked the wrong thing. So, and specifically, I'm here to talk about how I engaged them over my distance learning summer school and what I did there. So, a little bit about me very quickly. I have over 10 years of experience in the ECE or in kindergarten and 4K and all of those fantastic grades. I have a master's degree in curriculum and instruction. I actively use Letters Alive in my classroom. I am an educational presenter and I have won a few awards for innovation in the classroom. So first off, I wanted to start by talking about why I use Letters Alive in my classroom. And I discovered Letters Alive through Mr. Greg and his ABC boot camp. And what I discovered about it as I started to digging into it was how it is research-based and it is brain-based. And for me, that was a no-brainer in the classroom right away as I started to dig into it. Also, Letters Alive is extremely engaging. I never have to get my students excited to do Letters Alive. When I say we're bringing out these Zoo Crew animals, they're absolutely excited, they're ready to go, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna do this. And so the 3D elements and the functionality of it are so engaging for my students, and I'll talk a little bit at the end of how they're even engaging for the parents. In terms of distance learning, the reason I am really excited to share with you what Letters Alive does is it was completely mobile and it was very low prep. When the shutdown happened, I grabbed my document camera, I grabbed my cards and my laptop, I took it home, and it was just ready to go. It took no additional effort on my part. It was just ready to go. And then when you pair the elements in the Zoo Crew, or in the Zookeeper kit and Mr. Greg's boot camp and the Letters Alive journals, it is fantastically no prep. And 41% of us just said we don't know what's about to happen next year. So wherever I can save time, I'm going to. Also, Letters Alive offers easy differentiation. There are so many multiple modalities, from the hands-on to the interactive with the computer. It's just fantastic to use it in that format, so it's very easy to differentiate. Letters Alive for me is also very data-driven. When you go on the Alive Studios website, you can look at all these fantastic case studies and you can see the data, but it also has been driving my instruction because of the data that I have produced from my classroom, and I'll show you that in the next slide. And lastly, the reason I choose Letters Alive is it's active screen time versus passive screen time. It's beyond just the students watching a little video or playing a game on an iPad. It's far more active and interactive than that. So I wanted to share with you my data for using Letters Alive. I've used Letters Alive for 2 years now. I also use ESGI as an assessment tool. If you don't know what that is, write it down, look it up, it's fantastic. So what I wanted to share with you is my letter sound data and my CBC word data. So in the 2018-2019 school year, I had a class of 12, and I gave them a letter sound test that had all of the alphabetic sounds and the long and short vowels. 17.6 correct average score out of those 31, and that was without Letters Alive. When I used Letters Alive in the 2019-2020 school year, I was averaging with a class of 26, 20.8 correct out of those 31, which was an 18% increase. Then transfer that to later in the year in February. My students take a CBC word test where they have 10 CBC words and they have 3 to 5 seconds to read them correctly. And they were averaging 2.9 correct out of the 10 in February of the class of 12 in 2019. But in 2020, right before the shutdown, they were averaging 6.5 correct out of those 10, which was a 124% increase. And that right there for me was just paramount because they're reading. They were reading much quicker than they had in the year without Letters Alive. And that was because of that engagement piece. And then my observational data alone, just from what I observed, my students were learning vowel teams, digraphs, blends, they were learning those faster than they ever had before in other years. They were pointing them out to me in December, and that was hugely in part because of the way Letters Alive structures the animals with the 2 names, which you'll see in just a little bit. So now I really want to get into the meat and bones of my distance learning summer school. Now, everything I'm going to talk about with my distance learning summer school can translate to if you are starting 100% virtually in the fall, whether you're teaching from home or teaching in your classroom, you can do this, and that was really fantastic. And so I asked myself a few questions before I started. One, where did I want to house all this? Because privacy and taking care of these things to make sure they're not just out there, but that they're available for my parents is important. So I use Blooms, and you can use whichever one. If you're a Google Classroom, a Seesaw, a Dojo, whatever you're using it'll work. I prefer Blooms. And then what I did is, if you can see down here in my little picture, I created the virtual slide deck, and you can create that in Google Slides or in PowerPoint. And so that means everything you see in that picture, from me as the little hanging on there, and the letters, little Randy Rooster there in the corner, everything is hyperlinked. And it's almost like a giant hidden picture. And when they click on the T or the W, it's going to take them to a lesson of a pre-recorded video of me teaching. It takes them to the Alive Studios Zoo Crew Alphabet Show, which they do different things. There's some songs and fun things. And then what I did is I published this slide deck as a web link, and I pinned it at the top of our Blooms, which meant it was secure, it was safe in our classroom website. And then when they touch that link as a published web link, it opens the presentation just like this, and they cannot edit it. They can just use it. Then the second question I asked myself is, how was I delivering the instruction, and how are the students responding to me? I chose to deliver the instruction through pre-recorded videos. One, because I wanted to be able to front load this, and that way I could put that link up there and not have to edit it. And then also because this was a summer camp, and even when we start virtually in the fall, if we do, people might need to be able to be available at different times. And then how was I going to get student response? I chose to use Flipgrid. In the fall, I might be able to change that and just use Blooms. They're making some updates, and then we can do it all in one. But on Flipgrid, my students can respond to me with a video. They can respond to me with a selfie. They can type it out. Flipgrid will read to them. And then I can respond with a video. Their peers can respond with a video. And that gives us a great ability to talk about what we're doing. I also wanted to make sure there was the hands-on element. So right before my virtual summer camp started, we had the take-home caregiver kits that included all of the hands-on material, from the zookeeper kit, the circle graphs, their Letters Alive journals that would then become active with the app. And that was all in there, as well as a spelled out kit for parents who may not be so tech savvy. And then the last thing that I really want to convey to everybody is, even with all this pre-recorded, I did not cut out the live element. We still Zoom or Google Meet or whatever you're using. But what was really great about doing it this way is then that Zoom is our all-important social time. We're all so aware right now of missing out on that all-important social time. And so when we would Zoom during summer camp, that was our chance to just talk. Of course, we would talk about our academics, but then that is the time. You want to go get your cat? Go get your cat. I want to see your cat. I want to know about your life. And that has been wonderful, to just keep those live moments for socialization. So the other things I wanted to talk about is, what was the instructional pieces that were key in this distance learning summer school? And I'm going to talk about teaching letters and teaching writing. I did do a numbers boot camp with this as well, that from Mr. Greg, you can find that. And that was fantastic, but I'll just talk to you about the teaching letters and the writing today. And so it was very much distance learning in layers, using Alive Studios supplemental curriculum paired with the ABC boot camp. You get the explicit letter instruction. We did letter sound, letter formation, letter recognition, and we did all of that using the Letters Alive, using the cards, the animals, especially that first and last name with the animals and everything. Then they have their independent independent practice using the Letters Alive journals and the circle graphs and all the printable material that went home. And then Alive Studios has provided the new Zoo Crew Alphabet Show, which they're going to talk about in a little bit. And that was where then we were able to bring in those science and real world connections, and the students learned more about the animals and their habitats and everything. So I do have a little video clip here that I want to share with you. It's very edited. My lessons ran about 15 minutes long. So this is not, of course, 15 minutes long, but this is just what I really want you to pay attention to is the two names of the animals.
Animal we're going to see today, and remember Mrs. Ludwig told you on Flipgrid, this is her favorite Zoo Crew animal. Here we go. I hope you're excited. This is a jaguar, and watch him jump for us. He's going to give us a big jump. There he goes, because our jaguar, and we're going to find out how many sounds his letter makes.
James, jaguar.
Let's hear it one more time.
James, jaguar.
So I only heard one sound. I heard the J sound in James.
James.
And I heard the J sound in jaguar.
Jaguar.
So you could see there where the explicit letter instruction comes in with those two sounds. And as I said, my observational data absolutely showed me that throughout the school year of the students recognizing those two letter sounds in the first and last names of the animals. Then a big key component of our ABC bootcamp throughout this summer school was the teaching writing component. Now doing it in the summer school, these are my incoming kindergartners. These are the students I haven't had yet. So when I say writing, that might have been them illustrating writing, doing their invented spelling and all those things, but the Letters Alive curriculum and the Zookeeper edition really easily provide this. One, if you can see my pictures here, it easily provides that creativity because when the students are able to have a giant frog in their kitchen using the Letters Alive app that is free to download and then works with the journals, or having a cow in their kitchen, it wasn't hard for me to get them to prompt and write a journal. Also, with the Letters Alive journal, it goes in a cycle, and every so many letters has a journal prompt in there. And that would be then when our opportunity to talk about our writing process and how we're going to write would just be naturally built in. So it wasn't something additional that I really had to worry about. It just came naturally through the curriculum. Of course, I've never met a kinder or a little that wasn't naturally curious about animals. So they absolutely love writing about this and getting into this and enjoying it. It's huge for the visual learners and it brings the real world experience. The one little story I wanted to share with everybody is this little fellow over here in the corner, this little girl. When she learned about Amos the alligator, she got so excited and was so all about this. She asked her mom to follow her on her bike, and she had, after using the app and the journal, made Amos come alive. And then she went around and became a teacher. Whoever she could get to listen to her about Amos, she would tell them, and she would tell them about his two-letter sounds and everything. So she really enjoyed Amos the alligator and sharing for that real world experience. And then the last thing I wanted to talk to you guys today is about that family and social engagement that I said I see. I know that I would rather be back in the classroom, but that just might not be possible this coming future year. And one of the side benefits that I am completely seeing coming from the distance learning is littles can't be online alone. And so their parents are there, their grown-up is there, their adult is in the room, and it's almost through osmosis that they're learning right along with them, whether they're staring right at the screen or just listening in the background. I'm sure we've all had a kinder kid come in and they may have learned how to form the letter incorrectly or the incorrect sound. And so through this method of delivering instruction, the parents are kind of learning it as well. One thing I did want to add that Alive Studios also offers is the rugs, and you can bring the animals alive. You can see there with the rugs as well. And that is if and when we get back into the classroom, that was a huge social piece for me because the students would learn how to use these rugs, and then they would almost work in teams, getting the animals to come up, playing with the habitat cards that come along with this. And that was a fantastic piece for them. And then lastly, what I'm definitely noticing, and I think you guys all know too, is everybody loves a cute picture and everybody gets excited by kind of that wow factor. And that's all built in here. And I have had families so excited about this because of the fun things that they can do with it, that it gets them more excited to do it and more excited to learn. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this. If I know we're going to do a little Q&A now, but if you have any more specific questions for me, you can follow me on Facebook at the Primary Pink Chef, and I'll kick it back to Cynthia. And thank you.
Great. Thanks, Amanda. No, I love hearing these stories. There's always something new that I learn. So thanks for sharing that. And so I have on my screen now, like, all right, so it's a lot to absorb. What is Amanda actually using from Alive Studios? There's a lot of cool stuff, but I can just talk about our stuff. Is on the left of the screen is my Letters Alive journals. Those journals, our student journals, are $10 each, just so you know that it's not expensive. And the app is free. So you download the free app and these journals come alive. And that's what her kids were using, just like the one Amos, I see with her bicycle going around town. That was cute. In the middle, you'll see the Zoo Crew Alphabet Show. That's a free resource. We're going to learn more about that, I think, with Beth, on how you can download that and use that right away. And on the right of the screen is the Letters Alive Zookeeper Edition. So that's the kit that she's using remotely, or of course you can use it in the classroom whenever that happens. So